Hello everybody and welcome to my video about my favorite set ever, the 1997-1998 NBA Basketball Flair Showcase. In my opinion, it's the prettiest set, the most desirable set, and I think it's one of the greatest sets ever. And I just wanted to make a whole video about it because I love the set and there's so much information about it, and I feel like I wasn't able to find enough information, so I accumulated all the information that I can get to the best of my ability, and I'm going to make one video about it right now. To anybody who is interested in starting collecting it or know better about what they have. And then of course at the end of this video, once I publish it, if there are comments, things I missed, things I got wrong, please write it down in the comments, follow, subscribe, and then I'll make another video with corrections if there's anything that I missed or got wrong. So just a brief history about Flair. I think they started their first set in 1994. It stood out, I think, when I collected back then, because it was beautiful cards, thicker, a lot higher quality than the rest of them. You know, Flair was very thin cards, like cardboard, and this was very like hard, almost plastic with some foil on top, very shiny, beautiful designs, really. So they stood out. But the set itself wasn't very special. They just had, I think, a bunch of base cards, some inserts and stuff like that. And the first set that they made that really broke through as incredible was the 1996-97 Flair Showcase. And this was also one of the best rookie years ever for the NBA, so naturally it became one of the most famous ones. And basically, the 97-98 is very similar to the 96-97. In my opinion, is a little bit better because they sort of took what they had back then and added to it. But they're both incredible sets. So in my opinion, the 96-97 is the second most beautiful set out there. I have a few examples here. You can see for the Allen Iverson. Back then they had 3 rows. So they have row 2, row 1, and row 0. Row 2 was a black and white background. Up front was a color action shot. In the background it's kind of a face. Row 1, they're both in color but the same principle. And row 0 was like a sort of I don't know exactly, not quite a shimmer, but it was very shiny and sparkly, with a nicer text for how you wrote the name. Anyway, so that was a variation. The backs were all the same for 3 different cards, but that they also had famous inserts for the class of 96. So the rookies, you had Kobe Bryant, Stephon Marbury, all of those. And then came 97-98, which I'll talk about in a second. And after that came the one for 98-99, which had, again, similar designs. Oh, I forgot to say that for the 96-97, they had the most famous insert set of Hot Shots. The little flame thing going. I don't have any of these of yet. But that was a very famous set as well. So 98-99, they came out with kind of a similar set. They just changed it up a little bit with each row. And then at the end they had a row 1, I think, and that was numbered. Each different card was numbered differently. And they had, of course, the famous take it to the net, take it to .net, sorry, insert. So this is the AI one. After that, Flair Showcase kind of fizzled out. Their best years were 96-98. And I don't think there's actually any more Rose sets after that past 99, maybe 2000. Not that I was able to find. Okay, so now let's talk about the main event, the 97-98 Flair Showcase. And we'll start by talking about the checklist. What cards are in this set? Now, I'm just going to shoot a bunch of data. I'm not going to edit this video too much, so if I get things wrong, maybe I'll cut it out, but it'll just be one long, agonizing detail vomit for you guys. Okay, so let's start with the non-numbered cards, which is basically you have a checklist. It's just there's one checklist, one card. It's not numbered. It pops up in packs, and it's not a part of the amount of cards that you'll get in the pack. So there's 5 cards in a pack. You could get a 5 card and the checklist. So basically the checklist is a little different than any other checklist you had back in the days, because it's not, number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, here they divided it to teams. So even if Michael Jordan is number 1 and Scottie Pippen is another number, they're not standing next to each other in the checklist, but they are in this one because it's just Bulls, under Bulls, or Dennis Rodman, right? So you can see most teams have 3 players for each team, except for Utah Jazz and Seattle that have 2, and Philadelphia. Well, a bunch of them has 2, but I think one has 4. Toronto has 4, and the Pistons have 4. Everybody else has either 3 players or 2 players. So that's a checklist, and it basically allows you to check off each card that you have for each player, which we'll get to in a second. The second unnumbered card is not quite a card, but it's a promotional card. It's the Grant Hill unperforated set. Basically all of the cards of his in the set unperforated, and they would give it to the stores to give out to tear apart and give out to whoever wanted to start collecting this just as a promotion. So that one's pretty cool. There's 2 differences between this and the actual Grant Hill cards in the set. He's number 2, by the way. The first one is that the row 3, the first card of Grant Hill, is different looking when it actually came out in the set. So they changed it from this picture when it came out to the set. You can let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, so you can see that these 2 cards have a different background. This picture here in the unperforated one was a little blurry, so I think they switched it out to what they had out at the end. And the second major difference is that the last card, the hologram, is not numbered in the back, which we'll get to it later on, but generally speaking, not numbered, a little bit of different picture, uncut. It's technically numbered, but it's not considered a part of the set per se. All right, so that's that. And now we'll talk about the base set. Now, there are 3 sections for the set. Each section contains 320 cards. The base section is called section 2. A lot of people, I think, kind of don't really know what that means. But when you look at the back of the card, this is the last one. This is Rasheed Wallace, number 80. You can see on the top it'll say section, and this one 2, and then row 2, or row 1, or row 3, or 0, and then seat 80. So the seat is the number of the card, 1 through 80. And the section means what set is this? Section 2 is the base set. And then the row means the variation of the card player. So in section 2, like I said, there were 320 cards, 80 players, and each player has 4 variations for their card. The variations are called row 3, row 2, row 1, and row 0. And these are by rarity, right? So row 3 is the least rare, row 2 less common, row 1 rare and row 0 very rare. So that will be the row section for the back. You'll have the section which says this is the base set. You have the row which tells you which variation is it for each card, and then you'll have the seat, which is basically just the number in the checklist of 1 to 80. Which player is that? And then you have section 1. Section 1 is the exact same cards as in the base set, but it's a parallel called Legacy Collection. In that set, every card in that set, no matter what, is numbered to 100. I'll show you an example. The big difference is that in the front, the text of the name is in blue as opposed to the silver or gold of the rest of the cards. So the Legacy Collection set, all numbered to 100, it is in blue foil on the front for the text. It also had another piece of text that says Legacy Collection. Everything is in blue, even the Flair Showcase logo. And then on the back of it, you can see that it's numbered to 100. So these are the Legacy Collection Section 1 set. And then you have Section 0, which is again all the same 320 cards of the set, of the original set, but they're called Masterpiece Legacy Collection or Legacy Collection Masterpiece, however you want to call it. And each card in that set is basically a 1 of 1. Just like in the Legacy Collection set, the front foil is now purple. It says Legacy Collection on the front, and if I'm not mistaken, on the back, right above the numbering, it says Masterpiece 1 of 1. So 960 cards, 320 Masterpiece Legacy Collection 1 of 1s, 320 Legacy Collection all out of 100, and then 320 base set, and which some of them are also numbered just as part of the base set, but just so we understand that. Putting the base set aside, because this is the main thing I'm going to talk about in a minute, you have an insert set called Waves of the Future. This is one of the weirdest insert sets I've ever seen, probably the weirdest, and it's comprised of 12 cards, all rookies, Waves of the Future. And they look like this. This is all the set. Yeah. 12 cards, and it was very weird for a few reasons. One, the style of the card. So it is basically a card wrapped in a little bit of a plastic cover, and inside there's a liquid with glitter that you can kind of press around. If you remember in the 90s, sometimes you can buy a notebook like this and you have just for decoration. So they decided to make a card out of it. That did not age well. A lot of them explode and spill. The liquid doesn't help the condition of the card. So it was really a failure on their side. I actually got one in the mail once that exploded, and I couldn't take away the liquid for months. I don't know what they have in there, but basically you can just kind of press it around and move the glitter wherever you want. It says Waves on the Future on the front part of the plastic, and then inside on the card it also says Waves on the Future, Waves, liquid. You get it. But the second weirdest thing is that it was a pretty good rookie year also. We kind of knock it out because 96, 97 was so good, but 97, 98 was pretty good as well, and none of the main rookies are there. So I'll just go over the checklist for you to see who's on that rookie special insert list. Let's see if you recognize maybe one or two. You got Corey Beck, Maurice Taylor, Chris Anstie, Keith Booth, Anthony Parker, okay, I know him, Austin Crocier, Jacques Vaughn, God Shamagod, okay, Bobby Jackson, Johnny Taylor, Ed Gray, and Kelvin Cato. This is all the list. Funky, no doubt. Okay, so we talk base cards, parallels, now insert waves of the future. Now we have two more sets of cards that come in the packs. They're not really on the checklist. They don't count for a card count when you do odds, or when you open a pack you get 5 cards plus these, and they're sort of promotional cards. Actually, they used to do that a lot in the 90s. And the first set is the $1 Million Moments, which is comprised of 50 cards. There's a checklist. That's actually card number 1. It says checklist, card number 1, checklist. And it has 50 cards in it. And they all basically feature different players, and they write a date of a significant moment in their career. You got great players here. I mean, Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson, all those players. The only thing is, you can only pull 45 out of the 50 from packs. The last 5 players, which are Gary Payton, Kristen Lattner, Glenn Robinson, Nick Van Exel, and Marcus Camby, you can just not get them from the boxes at all. They were sort of a redemption, I think. I'm kind of vague about it. If somebody wants to elaborate, please do. But basically, all those things is just a lottery for $1 million. That's why it's called $1 Million Moments. You fill in the back, you send it over, and you go in a raffle. So they're kind of promotional cards, but they're cards. They have Penny Hardaway, Tim Hardaway, Grant Hill, Allen Iverson, Sean Kemp. So they're all actual cards. They're just like promotional cards. So 50 cards here, Waves of the Future, 12 cards. And regular base set and everything, 960 cards. And then you have one more thing, which is the Diamond Ink cards, which are not really cards. They're basically redemption points, but they're also different. And as opposed to what Panini has now, that you get like, 500 redemption points, back then you collected it for a specific player. So you have Tim Thomas. I actually have the checklist for that here. The 12 players also for this. And this is actually quite a great list. You got Tony Betty, Chauncey Billups, Kobe Bryant, Denny Frostin, Kevin Garnett, Grant Hill, Stephon Marbury, Antonio McDyess, Tracy McGrady, Joe Smith, Tim Thomas, and Antoine Walker. Now, all these cards, different players. Tony, I got, who do they have? Antoine Walker, Joe Smith, Chauncey Billups. So all these cards have a diamond on them, and the name of the player, and then a number next to the diamond. And you basically need to collect 500 diamonds and in order to activate the redemption. So you had cards that says 1 diamond, 5 diamonds, 10 diamonds, and 25 points, whatever. So 12 players, 4 different types of points that you can get, 1, 5, 10, and 25. That's 48 different cards. So you got 48 cards here. Now what happens when you got to 500 points? You send them back then, and then you get, listen to this, a miniature basketball signed by the player. So you could have gotten 500 Kobe Bryant points and got that ball if you really, really wanted. So that's weird, but that's also was in the packs. You can get that. In total, after everything I said, there are 1,075 cards you can get in that set, which is quite a bit. Not like today's, but for back then, it's quite a lot. Every box have 24 packs. Every pack have 5 cards, not including $1 Million Moments and Diamond Ink or the checklist. So 120 cards per box. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about the cards themselves. So this is just, again, I picked an example, just the last card here of Rasheed Wallace, number 80. You have 4 variations for Rasheed Wallace. And that goes true for all the rest of those cards as well. Row 3, the most common card, has an action shot in the front in color and then a portrait in black and white in the back. In the background, I mean, not in the back of the card, in the background. Row 2 has an action shot in color in the front and a portrait in color also in the background. Row 1 is same idea, front color action shot, back portrait color. This one also has a shimmer finish to it. So how do you call it? Yeah, a shimmer, you know, whatever. And then row 0, this is the only horizontal card, and it actually have the portrait in the front, a closer up of the player, and then in the background, the player action shot, and you have kind of a really blurry background to this whole thing. This has a mojo refractor finish to it. Beautiful cards. I love those growing up so much. In some cards, you can actually almost make out the detail background, even though it's blurry. Like I think the John Stockton one, you can really notice it, but for the rest of them, you can't really. It's just kind of a silver mash. And the interesting thing about those, even though they're considered the base set, they're all numbered. So the numbering for the row zeros, everybody knows, changes throughout the set. So like I said, there's 80 players, 1 through 80. Each player have 4 variations, and the row 0 for each one of those is numbered. And they're numbered differently. So you can divide, you can say that there's 4 tiers to this set. Tier 1 is card 1 to 20, Tier 2, 21 to 40, Tier 3, 41 to 60, and Tier 4, 61 to 80. From 61 to 80, all the row zeros are numbered to 2000. Like this one. This one is 1650 out of 2000. From row 41 to 60, all the row zeros are numbered to 1000. From card 21 to 40, all the row zeros are numbered to 500. And from card 1 to card 20, all the row zeros are numbered to 250. Now, all right, more about the design. Even though we call them row 3, row 2, row 1, and row 0, they actually have another name to that. And this is where Flair Showcase got really complicated for no good reason. And it's very confusing, and we'll get to that soon. But basically, row 3 is called Flair. And you can see that right underneath the Flair Showcase logo, it'll say Flair. Row 2 is called Style. Again, you can see that under that. Row 1 is called Grace. And row 0 is called Showcase. Now, that is true across the board between all the tiers that I just talked about. So no difference between tier 1 to 20. All the cards, all the rows, that's how they're called. Now, where it gets really, really unnecessarily complicated is when it comes to the back of all those cards. Because as opposed to the 96-97 Flair Showcase, all the backs are the same, all the fronts are different. For the 97-98 set, all the fronts are different, but also all the backs are different. And the backs alternate between the tiers that I just mentioned. And the backs also have a name to them that, just like the front has flair, grace, style, all those, and it goes true to all the set. For some reason, they decided that the back is going to be different, and they're also going to give it a name. Who named the back of the card? I don't get it, but they did. So in case of Rasheed Wallace, which is the tier 4, the last card, card number 80, you actually see the name of the back on the back. It'll tell you that the row 3, in this case, would be the showcase, right? Because it's row 0. Oh, sorry. The Flair. So it's row 3. The back will be showpiece. For row 2, which is style, the front is style, the back will be showdown. For row 1, which is grace, again across the board, the back will be showstopper. And for row 0, which is showcase, the back will be showtime. So the back from row 3 to row 0 is showpiece, showdown, showstopper, showtime. Okay, now let's talk Grand Hill, for example. Grand Hill is card number 2, so it's tier 1. The back of the first card is not showpiece, it's showtime. The back of the second card, row 2, style, is not showdown, it's showstopper. The back of row 1, grace, is showdown and not showstopper. And the back of the showcase, row 0, is showpiece and not showtime. So I'll give you an example. This is, as you can see, the same row, row 3, but the backs are different. This one is normal and this one is horizontal. What? Why did they do that? I don't know. But it's the same row, different backs. Now this is row 3. I'll show you row 2. Grand Hill, row 2. Rasheed Wallace, row 2. This one has Grand Hill, willy-nilly. This one has a lot of text on it, like a different type of style of back. I don't know why they did that. And then you have, now they switched. Now this is row 1, and now Grand Hill has the text in the back, and Rasheed Wallace, just regular. It's really hard to explain. But the most annoying one is the row 0 back. Because for the first tier, the cards are horizontal. And it makes sense that the backs are also horizontal, like here, because this is tier 1. But in tier 4, even though the card is like this, the back is like this, which really makes me want to scream into a pillow. I don't know why they did this, and furthermore, I am just as annoyed with it because this one is actually good, but sometimes PSA put them in the case opposite because they don't realize that they have these cards to think about. So in this case, you see Grand Hill and Rasheed Wallace are in the same orientation, and this is the back for Rasheed Wallace, so it's standing straight. So this is how the card should be in the PSA case, just in case it's that. I'll give you another example. This is a Legacy Collection Ron Mercer, but you see they're facing the other direction because whoever put this in the case didn't realize that some of the row 0s were, the backs were like this. So very annoying. You might have a collection where all the cards are not in the same alignment if you have row 0s. So this is annoying, to say the least. All right, so I mixed it up. Okay, Grand Hill, Rasheed, This is to show you the difference of the backs in each group of cards. So this is the backs between card 1 and 20. This is the backs between cards 21 and 40. This is the backs between cards 41 and 60, and the backs between 61 and 80. So you can see that the style of the back changed. So if row 0, this was the style, and cards 1 to 20, this is the style. Now it's between for row 1, and between 41 and 60 it's row 2, and row 3 between cards 61 and 80. And then, so this is kind of an X that they had with the styles. And then for this, I don't know what they did there, what they did here. I don't know why, but they did it. It's there. Now you know. That's it. Okay. So this confusion between the backs really makes the pack odds almost impossible to calculate, because I think when they did it, they actually got confused themselves by doing it. So we'll get to pack odds soon, because it's not so clear. But before we do that, a little bit more about the set itself, because besides the rookies that we talked about in Waves of the Future, there were big rookies in that year, and they're in the regular set. So the rookies in the set are Tony Betty, number 40, Derek Anderson, yeah, doesn't matter the number, Edwin Foyle, Antonio Daniels, Tim Thomas, Danny Forston, Bervin Knight, Tracy McGrady, Chauncey Billups, Ron Mercer, Keith Van Horn, and the main one, Tim Duncan. So obviously amazing players for a rookie year. For some reason they didn't make the cut, but I think they did them a favor not to put them in that weird set. So that's that. Now, one more note that I'll mention. I wanted to go over rates, average rates when I bought them, when I completed them, if you're looking into getting some of those. And I'm only going to talk about the row zeros right now, and I'll talk about it in tiers. So tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. Starting with tier 4, any card row 0 from 61 to 80 should be anywhere between $5 to $20. That's not too rare. There's 2,000 of them. Well, we'll get to that also. That's that. Between 41 and 60, the average rate is about 20 to 50, 60 maybe, depending on which players. Sometimes it'll be more, depending if you buy graded or not. Some of them are really hard to find. Between 21 and 40, it's somewhat the same, 20 to 60, 70, with exceptions. So some of them will all of a sudden jump to like 300 or 200. I can tell you that the last card, I completed the set completely, and I'll go through the cards at the end. But the last card that I got was a Jerry Stackhouse. And I'm telling you, it was not on the market for over a year. And I have alerts, and I was just waiting, and I'm looking, and I couldn't find it, and it drove me crazy. But finally, it came out for like $300, and I'm like, I'll take it. Just because I wanted to finish the collection. Doesn't mean that it's worth that much. Just coincidence. Again, these are only 500 cards of it, so you never know. And then tier 1, which is 1 from 20. These you get in the hundreds. So for the most part, you'll find cards from about $70 to $300, with again all the way up to $700-800, with more exceptions of Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, rookie year. So Kevin Garnett, these go for a lot. Michael Jordan, can go for quite a bit. And that's that. These are all numbered to 250. Now, here's a hot take on those cards, because they're all numbered to 250, we know that. But I checked on the PSA website, and granted, not all of them are graded through PSA. But if there are 250, on the PSA website, only 35 row 0 Michael Jordan were graded. I didn't cross-check BGS or the rest of them, or Beckett, or no, what's the other one? HGC, whatever it's called. So let's say 70 cards were graded, roughly. That means that we have about 170 or so unaccounted for. That was terrible math, 180. Unaccounted for. And this makes me to think that you have two options. Either there are tens of thousands of boxes that just haven't been opened yet and just sitting there with Jordans laced all over them, or a lot of them just got destroyed, lost through, I mean, it's been 30 years. I would argue that at least 100 of that count we'll never see again. They're gone. That's my opinion. I think we're talking about at least maybe roughly 150. And even then, 70 graded, 150 actually there. You have to make me believe that there's people with 80 people with a row 0 that just decided not to grade it at all, sitting on it, knowing it's there, not talking about the people who don't know. So I think the count is actually a lot less than 250, especially 30 years later, just about. But you guys tell me what you think. Do you think there's just all the cards are there, we just don't know about it? Most people prefer not to grade a $10,000 card. I don't know. Maybe. Okay, and now let's talk about Okay, time to talk about pack odds. The elephant in the room. The quick answer is nobody knows the pack odds for it. And in reality, I don't think there is an answer, really. One of the reasons I told you is the sort of mishmash they did with the names. But it doesn't mean that there wasn't actually an odds for card in the production. I'm just saying I'm not sure people can really figure it out. On the box itself, it actually lists the odds per pack, but it does it in that weird way of calling the cards by the names. So it doesn't really make that much sense, but maybe it's true. I'll give you an example. On the box, it says Flair Showtime is 1 every 0.9 packs. Okay, reminding you, Flair is row 3 across the board, and Showtime, that's the back. So they're matching the front and the back. Flair, Showtime. Which means it's Flair, Showtime is tier 1, 1 to 20. That is 1.9, every pack. At the same time, Flair Showstopper is, or let's say Flair Showdown, which is tier 3, 41 to 60, these are every 1.5 packs. So that means that you're more likely to get a Jordan, Iverson, Duncan in a pack of row 3 than a Chris Mullin, Terrell Brandon, and Horace Grant. On the surface, it doesn't make sense to me. But maybe I'm not understanding it correctly. So I'll just give you what they say on the front of the box, and then I'll give you my final analysis. Because it doesn't actually say all the pack odds. So it says Flair Showtime, which is row 3 between, we're doing only row 3 right now. So tier 1 is 1 to 0.9. Flair Showstopper, which is tier 2, 1 to 1.1. Flair Showdown, which is tier 3, 1 to 1.5. Flair Showpiece, which is tier 4, 1 in 2 packs. So the worst players are 1 in 2 packs. The best players are 1 in every pack. Okay. Row 2. Now that's weird, because instead of starting with tier 1, now they're starting with tier 2. Style Showtime, which is tier 2 back, right? Style is row 2. Showtime is the back of tier 2. So it's a mouthful over here. Style Showtime is 1 in 2.5 packs. Showstopper, which is tier 1, we went back up 1, is 1 every 3. Showdown, which is the last tier, is 1 every 3.5. Again, we did section tier 2, then tier 1, tier 4, and now tier 3 style showpiece. That's 1 every 4 packs. I don't know. Let's go to row 1. These are rare cards. Ish. Grace Showtime. Tier 3. 1 every 6 packs. Grace Showstopper. Tier 4. 1 every 10 packs. Grace Showdown, which is row 1, tier 1. 1 every 16 packs. And then you have Grace Showpiece, which is tier 2, 1 every 24 packs. So the only interesting thing I have about these 3 odds for the 3 rows is that in none of them, tier 1 was the rarest. It was either the least rare, like in the first one, second rare, and third rare, which leads me to believe that maybe it did make sense in that way, that now section row 0 has to be the most rare for section 1. Duh. But they didn't write it. They wrote on the box Showcase Showtime, which is tier 4 out of 2000. That's what they wrote, out of 2000, like the number, out of 2000. And then Showcase Showstopper, which is tier 3 out of 1000. We know that. Showcase Showdown, tier 2 out of 500, and Showcase Showpiece out of 250. So they didn't write the odds, they just write that they're numbered. So what are the odds for row 0? So I decided to do a little bit of convoluted math, and I made up numbers. I'm flat out going to tell you. I looked at the last one, the row 1 odds. Grace Showtime out of 6, Grace Showstopper out of 10, Grace Showdown out of 16, and Grace Showpiece out of 24. And I thought to myself, maybe there's some sort of connection between the numbers. So 6 times 2 minus 2 is 10, 10 times 2 minus 4 is 16, 16 times 2 minus 6, minus 8 is 24. So there's no connection anyway. But I decided to just go along with that weird math, double it, and then add 2 to the minus whatever you're dropping. And this is what I came up with. I think for the row 0 odds, I'm probably wrong, but it kind of makes sense, but I'm probably wrong on the spot. I'm not accurate. In my opinion, row 0, tier 4, is roughly 1 in 38, 40 packs. Row 0, tier 3 is probably 1 in 60 packs. Row 0, tier 2 is probably 1 of 106 packs. And row 0, tier 1 is probably 1 out of 196 packs. 200, let's say, roughly. And then if you're talking about a specific player in tier 1, like Michael Jordan, then he is out of 20 of these options. So 20 times 196, it comes to get a Jordan, row 0 is 1 every 3,920 cards, which is roughly 33 boxes. Which also leads me to believe that most of them are gone already, and we're left with a lot less than 250. Because if it takes you 33 boxes to get one card maybe no, specifically Jordan. So maybe one of all of them. Well, all 20 of them. I mean, sorry, all 20 of them in that frame, because it's 1 to 196. So all 20 of them, you're getting 33 boxes. Then that means that there were about almost 1 million boxes made, and we're missing so many, and we're not even getting to the legacy collection. I think what they did, they just drizzled them randomly. I really don't think there was a set. Maybe there was, but I don't know who came up with it. But that's what I think. I don't know. They mix it up very much so. Waves of the Future, if you're interested in that, it also says the odds for that. It's 1 every 20 packs. Who cares? And the last sentence on the box says, stated odds are based on entire production run, not the contents of any particular box or case. This box does not necessarily contain a complete set of basic or insert cards. Now, the last part, sure, I'm not expecting it to have a complete set in the box. But the first line, stated odds are based on the entire production run. It's almost like they did everything and they just kind of mix and match them later in the boxes. So it was very not accurate, to say the least. Okay, so we did odds. We did what players do we have here? We did the names, the front, the design, the checklist, the tiers, the sections, quite a bit. And now it's time to go over all the cards. So you don't have to stay for that part. I'm just gonna put the camera on the table and I'm just gonna show you all the cards in the set that you can look for yourself and see which cards and why this set's so beautiful. I would say one more thing that I'm not so sure about, and that's a question for everybody here actually. Let me see. And the question is about one specific player. Where is he? Damian Stoudemire. Oh yeah, right in the front. 10. So let's see. There's a lot of cards, just so you know. So this is a lot of cards. First half. The question I have is, every card in the back of the row 0 is numbered. And usually that numbering is gold foil, if I'm not mistaken. Except for Damian Stoudemire's. It's the only card that I have. This is gold and this is silver. So I wanted to ask any professionals out there, have you run, because this looks as real as it gets, like the mojo is a mojo here. Super real card. So, plus I have all of them to compare. Did you came across this, that one of the backs there are silver instead of gold? Let me know in the comments. Please let me know if I missed anything. If I got something wrong, I'll be happy to correct it. I just love this set so much, and I feel like sharing it will be just fun for me, and talking to people about this set and what they know. That's it. Oh, generally speaking, they're very hard to grade. They have they have one common, very clear manufacturing issue, which is that line that crosses them in the printout. So think about like the clear sticker that they put on the card to make it glossy. Sometimes they cut it in half, so it's not sitting perfectly on the card. So you see that perforation line, and when you move it left and right, it looks like there's two different reflections. So that is a bad thing for a card. Of course, because they're so glossy, so they're prone to scratches on the front. But even if you don't grade them, they're stunning, they're beautiful. I'm lucky to have the entire set, section 2. But maybe one day I'll also do section 1. who knows? Let me know in the comments. Stay here to see the cards if you want, and talk to you later. Okay, so now I'm gonna go through all the cards like I mentioned before. I'll try to do it as quick as I can with all the different inserts and whatever cards that I have that I talked about to show you. I'll try to do it with least amount of commentary, but take a look. All right, starting with the checklist. There's one card like that. Oop. Back and forth. You can see the base set and basically the waves of the future. Inserts. Okay, and next one up is the Grand Hill that I mentioned, unperforated. And you see this face. Now you can see it, well, I'll show you later when I get to Grand Hill. It's a little different than what they had. That's the back. And you can see the row 0 is not numbered. Okay, let's do them by 4s. This is Rasheed Wallace. Row 3, 2, 1, and 0. Rodney Rogers, number 79. Oop. Sorry, it's a little hard to look at the camera and see what it sees while I'm doing it. Rod Strickland. I'll get it at some point. Stunning cards. You can see the background of the card here. You can see, I think it's Doug Christie, blurred out in the background here. So you can kind of see, you can kind of make some people out. Kevin Johnson. Okay. That actually has a great color match, Kevin Johnson, with really beautiful cards. Sean Bradley, stretch. Larry Johnson. Also very nice cards. Brian Williams. Bryant Reeves. John Wallace. Kenny Anderson. This is actually the first row 0 I ever pulled out of a pack. So that was the thing that started it all. Ronnie Seakley, I don't really know how to say it. You guys tell me. These are still all to 2000, by the way. Kendall Gill. Chris Webber. By the way, I'm not showing you the backs, but honestly, they're boring. I'll show you one example. Let me show you Allen Houston, maybe. Allen Houston also. The blue and the orange really worked out well with this stunning card, honestly. Let me show you the back. So you see here you have the same picture in 3 of the backs, by the way. So you can see it's the same picture, a different background to the picture. And here is a close-up of his face. And this is, I guess, also the same picture, just a full picture. So there you have it. Alonzo Mourning. Zoe. Rick Smits. Turn off the focus just so it wouldn't move. Juwan Howard. Very nice blues. Joe Dumars. Yeah, that's one more thing that on row 1, they only had the last name. So the text in the names, it changes every variation. This is regular gold foil. This is gold foil covered in a black background. This is just the last name in gold foil. And this is silver. This was Ryan Grant. Then we have Louis Vaught. Then we have Bryant Stiff. Glenn Rice. Very nice colors also. Back then when the Charlotte Hornets were a thing. Steve Smith. Reggie Miller. Karl Malone. The Mailman. Jason Kidd. Michael Finley. He was a really good player back then. Never heard of him since. I don't know what happened to him. Anthony Mason. Mitch Richmond. Mookie Blaylock. This guy is interesting. In most sets in the 90s, he was the player number 1 on the checklist. I don't know why. Maybe because it's Atlanta. Maybe he's the first one. I don't know. Tom Gugliotta. Okay. Horace Grant in Magic uniform. Patrick Ewing. John Stockton. And you can see, first of all, you can see how the background here is very clear for the John Stockton card. Like you can see the players in the back of the court. And here you can maybe see the line that I was talking about in the middle. It's a very, very common line. It's actually hard to find a card without one. You know, the cards that you want naturally will have that. So make sure when you buy a card that's expensive, that at least it doesn't have that line. Oh, Team Hardaway. Jeez. There you go. Chris Mullin. Clyde the Glide Drexler. Dikembe Mutombo. This one is Tariq Abdul Wahad. This is a rookie. And I think you can tell here that there's no background here because I think they just did, I don't know if they had action shots or just like today when they have a clear background for rookies. This is Tony Betty. He's also a rookie, but maybe they had photos of him already. Isaac Austin. Derek Anderson, also rookie. I think you can tell here that this background and that background are sort of faked in as opposed to, like, these are posed shots for a rookie. Let's see, Derek Anderson, this is already row 38, so we're 38 to go. Ray Allen, that's his second year. Jerry Stackhouse. This was absolutely the last card I got in order to complete this set. It's also, I don't know what happened to him. Don't hear about him anymore. Vin Baker. Sorry, just not getting used to the camera angle here. Charles Barkley. This one I got graded. I couldn't find a raw one. The Rockets uniform. Let's see. Glenn Robinson. Edinal Foil, also rookie. This one I think I actually have his Legacy Collection one. I think I just saw it for like 20 bucks, so I got it. But you can see the difference in them if you have to do one on top of the other. So you can see the blue text, the additional right here, there's nothing, and here it says Legacy Collection. So yeah, and on the back, of course, this is number to 100, this is number to 500, and this is blue, and this is gold. Eddie Jones, the, oh my god, it's not Kobe player. I mean, this looks like an 8, I don't know, but yeah, every time you pull an Eddie Jones, you gotta love the guy, but oh my god, you think you got a Kobe, and it's Eddie Jones. Antonio McDyess. Also graded. Antonio Daniels. I think this is also a rookie, if you see background here. Oh. Hakeem the Dream, Elijah one. The Admiral, David Robinson. The glove, Gary Payton. Beautiful cards for Gary. Beautiful color, man. Like, I don't know. The green for the Seattle Supersonics was just really nice. These are for 500. Tim Thomas. This is a rookie. And again, you can see the background of row 1. It's kind of fake. Denny Forston, sorry. We're getting close to the top 20. Bourbon Knight. I think also a rookie, maybe. I don't remember. Joe Smith. And now we're getting closer to the bigger cards of this set. This is number 22. So we're 2 away from the top 20. We got Tracy McGrady. Probably the second best rookie of that year after Tim Duncan. This is a rookie card. You can see the background here is also like an empty basketball court kind of thing. Then you have Chauncey Billups, also rookie. Again, you can see the pictures in the background. And this is the last one for, oh no, this is number 20. So this is for 250 already. And then you have Marcus Camby. I think he's a second year. And the man himself, you got Kobe Bryant. That's row 3, row 2, row 1, and row 0. It's probably one of the best cards that I have of Kobe. I'm glad that I have 2 of them already graded in a 9 and 9.5. And we have Kerry Kittles. And Scottie Pippen. Oh yeah. I guess I have 2 of those. So I got okay. And then Stephon Marbury. Then we got Ron Mercer, also a rookie. Surprisingly, even though it's in the top 20 cards, the Ron Mercer row 0 I found for $20 or less. So that was surprising. I also have his Legacy Collection card. So, okay, I noticed one more thing, and I guess in the Legacy Collection difference, the picture in the back in the Legacy Collection is black and white. So that's interesting. And now we got the Worm. Dennis Rodman. Also upside down for this one. Keith Van Horn, rookie. Penny Hardaway, Also very hard to get, to find, let alone pay for, but one of the best of its era. Damien Stoudemire. Now that's the one I mentioned before, that this one has a silver number in the back, and they all have gold numbers. See, this is a gold number, and Stoudemire is the only one with a silver number that I have. You can't even see it because it's silver, but yeah, there you go. So if anybody knows why the difference, maybe it was just a specific print run, or maybe it is a fake, even though I sincerely doubt it. Sharif Abdul Rahim. This is already number 9. Antoine Walker. He was also a pretty good rookie back then for Boston. Exciting to watch. Oh, another issue with these cards is you can tell here. There's a sort of shadowing. You can see around his head there's like a black mark. So his picture should have been right, fitting perfectly in that line. And that's a big issue with, especially, I don't think I saw it in other rows, but in the row 0, it's like a picture over a picture, and it definitely, this will grade very low because of this misprint. They should sit perfectly. You see, Shaq doesn't have like a halo to his head or anywhere. It's good. This is Shaq. Sean Kemp. I think it's number 6. Sean Kemp, if I remember. Then you got the rookie of that class, Tim Duncan. KG. Screams a lot in all these pictures. All right. AI. The Answer. Allen Iverson. Grant Hill. So you can see the row 0, row 3, row 2, row 1, row 2, and row 3. And look at the face in row 1 and row 3. And you can see how different it is than this face. So it's a different card basically. The rest are matching, but this one does not. And for the main event, MJ, row 3, row 2, row 1, and row 0, which was hard to get, even in authentic situation. Not the best quality cards, but it's a 1 of 1. Nobody else graded it authentic except for this one. So we got that one also to complete the set. A few other cards that I have, maybe a few of those legacy collections, just random players, honestly. And then I have the Waves of the Future, Corey Beck, Maurice Taylor, Chris Anstey, Keith Booth, Anthony Parker, Austin Corsier, Jock Vaughn. I'm sure I'm butchering out God Shemagod, most of their names. Bobby Jackson, Johnny Taylor, Ed Gray, and Kelvin Cato. All right, all these 12 cards. So this is the entire set. And then we have the $1 Million Moments. So we have a checklist, and as you can see, it has 50 players on it. Number 1 is the checklist, so this is number 1 of the set. Mark Jackson, Charles Barkley, Terrell Brandon, Wayneman Tisdale, don't know who this is and why he's here, Clyde Drexler, Patrick Ewing, sorry about that, Kevin Garnett, Tom Gugliotta, Penny Hardaway, Tim Hardaway, Grant Hill, Allen Iverson, Sean Kemp, Jason Kidd, Charles Oakley, Karl Malone, Alonzo Mourning, Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon, Chris Webber, Scottie Pippen, Glenn Rice, Mitch Richmond, David Robinson, Dennis Rodman, Jerry Stackhouse, John Stockton, Mookie Blaylock, Muggsy Bogues, Kobe Bryant, Rex Chapman, Joe Dumars, Del Ellis, Horace Grant, Jeff Hornacek, Damon Stoudemire, Kevin Johnson, Larry Johnson, Tony Kukoc, Danny Manning, Reggie Miller, Chris Mullin, and Dikembe Mutombo. And like I said, the last 5, Gary Payton, Kristen Latner, Glenn Robinson, Nick Van Axel, and Marcus Camby are redemptions, so I don't have those. Lastly, just an example, because I don't have all of them, the Diamond Inc., Anton Walker, Joe Smith, Chauncey Billups. These are the different ones that I have. So that is pretty much it, I think. Let me know in the comments below. Did I miss anything? Anything else you want to know? Peace. Show some love. Take care.